With the more recent addition of the Replenish enchant, farming has become increasingly more viable as a means of earning money. However, despite farming being an incredibly profitable and also consistent money-making method, which crop is actually worth farming? To answer this question, I ran a few tests with the crops wheat, cocoa beans, and sugarcane, ranking them in ease of building the farm, tools required for harvest, how easy it is to harvest the crop, and how much money it earns. But before we get to the results, I'd like to quickly mention that I stream live over on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so if you have any further questions about this video, the links are down in the description below. We have a lot of open discussions over there, so I highly recommend it. With that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Alrighty then, so here we are on the island. I have officially completed all 3 of the tests that I was going for, which was to harvest an hour of wheat, an hour of cocoa beans, and also an hour of sugarcane farming. So as you can see, in these 3 chests that are standing right in front of me, I have all of the loot that I acquired from every single one of those little tasks, and I also want to compare how much money these made, and then also talk about a couple of other things. So before we get into the amount of money that those things earned me, I want to cover a few things, which is basically the background knowledge that you need to know before we sort of get into the entire thing. So the farms that I was using was this gigantic cocoa bean farm that me and my co-op members built together, and then if we head down all the way below the cocoa bean farm as well, we have the large sugarcane farm, which we also were using to collect data in this test. Now when it came to sugarcane, because we only have a 1 layer, I had to actually come back every like 20 minutes or so to harvest it once it was fully grown all over again. So I ended up harvesting this approximately 3 times when doing this test. It was more like 3 and then like a quarters harvest or so for the entire hour period. So I thought I'd point that out before we sort of started with the video. And for the last test, we actually did this on stream, but essentially all it consisted of was me coming to these private minis, harvesting all of the wheat fields in every single patch, and then when I was done, I do /warp hub, I would go to the hub selector here, select a new mini lobby, and then repeat the process all over again. So that's how we farmed all 3 of these crops, and in terms of which one was more convenient, I think I'm going to have to give this to the wheat farm, because this was super easy. All you have to do is just lobby switch every single time you run out of crops. Now this does require having VIP or higher to do it more conveniently, so it may differ if you do not have a rank at all, but for me, at least for the purpose of this test, when it comes to actually building the farms, these are already built for you, so it's a lot easier to harvest wheat than it was any other farm, simply because you don't have to build anything yourself, and you can sort of just come here, hop through hubs, and it was really easy to do. So now that we've covered which farm was easiest to build and also which one was more convenient to build as such, obviously giving that one to the wheat farm, I want to talk about which crop was the most convenient when it actually came to the harvesting process. So if we come down to cocoa bean right over here, I'm just going to jump down and head towards the corner. You can see that when it actually comes to cocoa bean, one thing that's really annoying is if you want to sort of get in between these beans, my game just glitches out and it likes to freak out just because my ping is really bad. You saw how hard it was to walk through this little gap here. So it can be pretty tricky to farm cocoa bean just with those little minor glitches and things, which isn't a huge deal, but it is just one thing that knocks down your quality of life experience when it comes to harvesting cocoa beans. Now the second thing that I want to cover is that cocoa beans, other than that fact, it's actually really easy to farm. All you have to do is to make sure that you do not have a farming sack in your sack of sacks. So I've actually got an agronomy sack right here, and I think I just have some cocoa beans in there. So what I'm going to do is take out the cocoa beans, put it in my ender chest, and then all you've got to do here is just harvest them with a replenish axe, and it'll just plant them all back for you. And as you can see there, it was really satisfying. All we got to do is run straight through these, moving our head up and down very slightly, and harvest them very quickly. There's no gear required. I was running full superior for this entire thing with a rabbit pet, and the speed was perfect. There was really no needs at all. So cocoa bean, I will have to give it that it was really easy to farm, and I quite liked it. I found it incredibly convenient. So now I want to talk about sugarcane, which is actually right below me. If we just head down here, the way that you'd farm this is you'd grab a rookie hoe with harvesting and telekinesis, and then what you would do is you would grab your rookie hoe, and then you would just like, we'll actually use the double layers just to give that as an example, but you would sort of grab a farming set. So in this scenario, I was using full young, actually I was using 3/4 young, so I'd grab out this young set in my wardrobe, I'd take off the boots, and I'd just run through it like this. So as you can see, we're able to hit all the canes relatively quickly. I also used a rabbit pet, which does give you a little bit of speed. So once again, to reiterate, you just run through like this, grabbing all the cane. Also very easy to farm, very convenient. I quite liked farming cane as well. However, I did find cocoa bean to be just that extra bit more satisfying, just because the cocoa beans plant every time you use replenish, and it felt much better when it came to harvesting cocoa bean. And then we have the final crop here, which is the wheat fields. Now this by far was definitely the least satisfying and the worst worst crop to farm, the one that I disliked the very most, although with that being said, it was still relatively easy to sort of get my head around and what strategy was best for this. So if we just come over to the spawn here of the hub, the first thing that I would do is just run straight to the wheat fields with my grappling hook. I would AOTE all the way over here, and then I would instantly start breaking this top row as best as I could, and then I would move on to the bottom row, etc, etc. Once I was done with this field, I would head over here, either AOTing or whatnot. If this wheat minion had produced anything, I would try and collect the wheat minion, and then also try and grab the crops around it. Then I'd go to this wheat field, that one over there, there's also one just back over there, you can see the crystal, and then the one in the far corner just over here. So wheat, once you get sort of like the pattern down, it's pretty easy to go around from each field to each field, but it's super inconvenient in the sense that you gotta like move your mouse like this to try and grab as many crops as you can. And I also found myself many times, like this wheat crystal just produced a wheat right there. If I was farming like this, I would have to turn back and grab this wheat that was just created by the wheat crystal, and I found it really uncomfortable, really sort of annoying. So I do have to say that wheat was pretty uncomfortable, despite it being completely free when it comes to building the farm itself. So now that we've covered sort of the convenience of farming the crops, I would like to say that I would give the ease of farming to cocoa beans just because it's really convenient and also somewhat satisfying with the replenish enchant. Although you may like farming cane because cane is also relatively easy to farm and was pretty simple as well. Although both these farms do require a self-built farm on your island, but once you do have it set up, it's super easy to harvest once that has been done and out of the way. Now for the moment of truth, the moment you've all been waiting for, it's how much I actually earned from the hour of grinding, and also how much money this is going to give me. So in today's video, I'm not going to be selling any of the items. I'm just going to be going to the bazaar and seeing what it would be like if I were to insta-sell the items, because that's probably what most people will do, is they'll grab their harvest, which in this case for the wheat was 37 enchanted hay bales, 37 regular hay bales, and then we have a little bit of wheat, almost two stacks of enchanted seeds, and then a bunch of regular seeds as well. So what most players will do is they'll take this entire harvest here and then head to the bazaar, come over here, and then they'll probably just click on sell inventory now. So as you can see, 37 enchanted hay bales, there's 37 regular hay bales, 122 enchanted seeds, 5 wheat, and 156 normal seeds only sells for 270,000 coins. So for an hour of farming, what in my opinion was the worst crop, the most uncomfortable crop, you earn next to nothing of actual profit. Not even 300k, I would say this is definitely not worth it. You're better off farming this wheat and then making it an agronomy sack with the enchanted hay bales, because it's going to be much more worth your while if you don't have that already. Or even then, since it doesn't sell for much at all here, if we just check the prices, the hay bales alone only go for about 250k, so you could probably buy an entire agronomy sack here for much cheaper. So wheat is a big no-go. I definitely do not recommend this, at least from my testing. I could be wrong. I could have done a little bit more testing with more hours put into this and gotten a bit of a better understanding of which crop was better, but at least from this little 1 hour test, you can see that wheat is not very good at all, so I highly do not recommend farming wheat. Now the next thing on our list here is of course the cocoa beans. So with the chest right behind me, we do have the loot from an hour of cocoa bean farming, and we made almost a half of double chest of enchanted cocoa beans. So I have high hopes for this. I think this is actually going to sell for quite a fair bit of money. So I shall grab all these cocoa beans and also throw them into my ender chest here, then grab even more with the spare ones as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out my inventory. We'll head to the bazaar and I'll see how much that will sell for if I was to sell it all in total. Okay, so as you can see here, we have our entire inventory filled up with all the cocoa bean we were able to get. I had to remove some of the things out of my hotbar, but that's completely fine. So if we turn to the bazaar here and we click on the sell inventory now button, you can see that we make about 760,000 coins if I were to sell all of this cocoa bean right here. Now, another thing that I do want you guys to keep in mind is that you can actually turn all of these enchanted cocoa beans into enchanted cookies. I'm not 100% sure if the cookies will sell for more or how much of a profit gap there is if you went out and got wheat to craft these cookies, but that is an option. This does earn a solid amount of money. 760k is not bad for an hour of farming. This may be increased more once again if you put more hours into it, or also if you're more accurate. For me, at least, with all these farms, actually, something that I didn't mention is that I did pause maybe a couple times for no more than like 10 seconds at a time, because obviously sometimes things happen. Maybe your game starts lagging a little bit, or maybe I had to like plant my cocoa beans again because the replenish enchant wasn't working. But whatever the case may be, I didn't really pause for more than a minute on each of these hour grinds. But regardless, there always will be human error, so this could be optimized a little bit better. Maybe it couldn't be. Maybe my farm wasn't as optimized as it could be, but we did make about 760,000 coins if we were to sell this entire inventory right now. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on to sugarcane and we'll see how much that would have earned us. Alright, so now that we have got cocoa bean out of the way and we saw that we made a little bit under 800,000 coins in total from an hour's harvest, how we move on to sugarcane, which is the last chest of the bunch right over here. So if we open this up, you can see that we got 13 enchanted sugarcane, 57 enchanted sugar, and then a stack and 53 of regular sugarcane. So if we head over to the bazaar here and check the prices, you'll be able to see that sugarcane can make you 1,060,000 coins per hour. Granted that you don't really pause too much and you sort of sit there for an hour on end just farming cane. So I've got to say this is actually really good for someone using just a rabbit pet, so not like an elephant pet or anything where it doubles your drops and stuff like that. This is actually a really solid money making method. Honestly, if you can set up a sugarcane farm, it's going to make you the most money out of all the crops that I tested. Now, of course, there are other crops like potatoes that you could probably try out, and there's also carrot. But the thing with carrot and potatoes is that it's one of those more inconvenient ones because not only is the farm really hard to build, but it's also really hard to harvest it with replenish because replenish is somewhat buggy, and once again, it's not as comfortable to farm crops like the wheat crops. We sort of have to go in this kind of motion for breaking all the crops at once. So I will say that with this test, the fact that you can get 1 mil per hour with no real like modifications to your farm just off of sugarcane alone, it seems like a really good money making strategy, and I actually recommend it to you guys. So now that we've got all those tests out of the way, how about we just come to the final conclusion on which crop I think is the most valuable, which one is most worth it, and we'll go off of that. Okay, so you guys got to see the numbers there. Wheat made by far the lowest amount of money with only about 270k of the profits going from a total hour of wheat farming. You also saw that cocoa beans made almost 800k, which is pretty solid. It's only about 240k below sugarcane, which made 1,000,000 coins per hour. So what can we learn from this? Well, for one, I will definitely say that do not farm wheat. Wheat seems relatively useless from this whole experiment. Wheat is one of the most tedious ones to farm, and while yes, it's kind of free, there's really no building required because you can just hop from different hubs with a harvesting rookie hoe, and you can get some easy cash out of that. It does make the lowest amount of money compared to the rest of the crops that we used in today's video, and then we're sort of left with just cocoa bean and sugarcane. Now, this really comes down to what you like and also the stability of both of these crops. So when it comes to sugarcane, it's known that a lot of people like to buy cane simply for the purpose of alchemy and leveling up their alchemy XP. And because people want to buy it to level up their alchemy XP, we know that this is always going to be an item that is in somewhat high demand, it's always going to be at a good price, and it should be able to make money almost at any time you want to without too much price fluctuation, making it a more reliable source of money and a reliable crop to harvest. While with cocoa bean, we're not 100% sure whether it's going to be a reliable crop to harvest or a reliable strategy, because at the moment, replenish, yes, it's in high demand, people are wanting to get replenish books, and people are starting to set up farms right now, but you don't know if in the near future cocoa beans may drop in price because a lot of people have replenish, or maybe just that lots of people are doing it, all the prices drop, or maybe they'll drop in general for sugarcane as well. Whatever the case may be, it is clear that sugarcane makes the most amount of money in this little experiment, and it was also one of the easiest and most convenient crops to farm, despite the fact that you do need 2 layers of the sugarcane farm for you to be able to harvest it for as long as you want to. So overall, I have to give this one to sugarcane because I feel like this is probably the best way to make the best crop to actually start farming with for various different reasons. So there you have it. Those are all the results that we have for today's video. Hopefully you guys did find this useful in some way, or maybe you found it entertaining or enjoyable as well. And if you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel because I do make these Hypixel Skyblock videos every Wednesdays and Fridays. And also, if you have any further questions or comments or even suggestions about this video or future upcoming videos, be sure to pop into my Twitch streams. I stream every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The links are down in the description below. But with that being said, that's all I have for you guys today. And as always, take care and peace.
But anyways,
yeah, that's it.
I had to wash my ass. My wet.
Okay. Oh, that's the first thing.